Meeting
Wonderful,
you.
wonderful.
Welcome to everyone who's joining us. Ah,
Great,
oh,
fantastic.
I know, isn't it exciting?
Yes, it is. And we're sharing such needed information. It just makes it even more exciting.
I know, right? I'm just trying to hook up my phone. Let
Okay,
me see
okay,
now. Oh, okay, never mind. It didn't work. Anyway, I think we're ready.
okay,
We
okay.
just want to say welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're Facebook Live today. We're going to share it onto the Magdalena page. Today is our second session on our 20-minute Wednesday today. And of course, last week we didn't manage to catch up with Janice due to technical difficulties, but I think we figured it out, haven't we, Janice?
Yes, we did.
We finally figured it out. Oh my goodness. Hey, Chrissy, thank you very much. Hey, Gabrielle, thank you very much for joining us. If you can just let us know which city you're hailing from, and we'll try and acknowledge you. Welcome so much. We're so grateful that you're with us. So today we're going to talk about verbal abuse. What is verbal abuse and what are the red flags? So we are looking forward to discussing that and to finding out what the red flags are. So I'm just going to pass it over to you, Janice, if you just want to start, introduce yourself and talk a little bit about yourself, and then we'll carry on from there.
Hello, everyone. I'm Janice Cummings, and I am the founder and CEO of You Win Working with Me. And I have a lot of experience working with women in all capacities. And my passion is working with women who are challenged by domestic violence issues. My master's degree is in holistic health education, so the mind, body, spirit is integrated in all the work that both of us do. My company name is You Win Working with Me. And I work with women who are going through difficult times in their lives and want to make a change in their lives. And I'm just happy to be here to share this information with everyone. So that's a little bit about me. I could just go on and on and on, but I don't want to take up a bunch of time, and eventually you'll find out those things about me.
Yes, indeed. Well, I don't know who else is there, but we just want to welcome you. Chrissy, did you say you're from Sacramento? Wow, welcome. Sacramento is in the house. Welcome. Just please share this video, share and invite people to join us. Share. As we continue to talk about what is verbal abuse and also the red flags. So today, just to remind you, we will spend just 20 minutes. We don't want to flood your mind with too much information. So it'll only be for about 20 minutes. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the comments section. I'll be watching out for any questions that you might have. So Janice, over to you. I'll let you start off with what we're going to talk about.
Well, the reason we chose verbal abuse is because verbal abuse is kind of subliminal, and it's subliminal to the point that if you grew up in that kind of environment, you actually don't look at it as abuse. But verbal abuse is any behavior that affects the person emotionally.
Yes.
And it falls under the category of emotional abuse. Of course, there are different kinds of abuse, but we wanted to start off with verbal abuse because that's the one that's mostly not detected as easily. And another part of verbal abuse is it doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process to get that person to lose who they are, basically. And it's a way of gaining control that touches on that person's emotional part of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we want to talk about it, because again, it's kind of hard to notice it. you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to add anything, go right ahead in terms of the verbal abuse. That's kind of my interpretation of it.
No, you're absolutely right. It is what it is, the way you've described it, Janice. What I do want to say is if we then kind of talk about what it does to a person, verbal abuse, how it can possibly affect a person, and then mainly basically also to home in and focus on things like what sort of red flags comes from verbal abuse. You know, what can you notice? What can you observe in the event that you start off in the relationship? Because that's what we're really focusing on,
Yeah.
the starting part of the relationship, so that you're able to recognize, oh, this is verbal abuse. And, you know, so then you're able to make an informed decision from that standpoint. So if you just want to expand on that one a bit.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll probably start off with the red flags, and maybe we can kind of expound on it or show some examples about it.
Yes, yes.
But the first sign that women often don't notice is they move too quickly. They want to get in,
Yes.
they want to get in fast, they want to move in, they want to know everything about you. And it's very quick, but a lot of times women specifically look at it as a compliment. And it also has to do with where that woman is in her life at the time.
Yes.
So did you want to talk a little bit about moving quickly into relationships? Because that's one of the big red signs.
Yes, I know for a fact that most of the times when we're starting off in a relationship, always, as usual, people always tend to put their best foot forward, right?
Yeah.
So you hardly have a chance to really notice what the person is like, especially if that person is very, very sharp and very clever and smart, so to say. So you rarely notice what this is all about. You think that, oh my goodness, this man or this woman is paying wonderful attention. They're so loving, they're so kind, they're so attentive, so respectful, and you know, you're so happy, you want to show this wonderful partner to the world. And then sometime along the relationship, not even too far into the relationship, you end up noticing, well, this person is sort of almost trying to isolate me or isolate you from your friends, your family, and you find little suggestive remarks like, I think you're working too hard. Have you ever thought of reducing your working hours? Or I think you're going out too much. Have you ever thought of just relaxing and chillaxing and taking time, spending time at home with me? I just want you all to myself. I don't want to share you with anyone. I'm so in love with you. I can't live without you. Those kind of remarks. And then the next thing is you think, oh my goodness, he really or she really loves me. They can't do without me. Then the next thing is you might hear the perpetrator or the abuser say, oh, why don't you take a picture of me or a picture of you wherever you are? I'd like to see where you are. I'm so excited that you're out there. And if it doesn't register in your mind that, why does he want to know where I am? Or why does he want to know with who I am with? Or why does he want to know what I'm doing? If you're not aware of those subtle suggestions, you might end up thinking that this person cares so much for you, when really that person should really allow you to be independent, to be free to do what you want, to go wherever you want, to be with whoever you want to be, no questions asked, all because there is a trust relationship. But most of the time, because we're so in love at the beginning of the relationship, we don't see and we don't notice those subtle little red flags popping up. What do you think, Janice?
Oh, you're totally on point. Because he started insisting that, or she, that the activities are interfering with the time that he wants to spend with you. And of course, most of the time women find this very flattering. Because especially if they haven't been in a relationship and they're kind of like, oh, I got to hurry up and get in a relationship. Maybe their friends are already in relationships and they're feeling left out. That's why it's very important that a woman recognize when she's at that state that she's extremely vulnerable.
Yes,
Even with the excessive jealousy and wanting to know your Facebook, wanting to know every move you make and call me when you get there, text me when you get there. Again, it's misconstrued. It just as you said, it's very, it's kind of like most time you're looking at it as a compliment,
Yes, we rarely notice it because we're so much in love, we don't even pay attention to those kind of things. I remember one time when I was in this relationship, and I think I even mentioned it last week. I mean, butter wouldn't melt on this man's mouth, it wouldn't melt on I thought he was something else, he was ice cream to lick on. But the way he treated me, the things that he said, they were so attentive, so very sweet. But eventually I remember one day we visited a friend of mine, and then when we came home, this is what he said to me: have you noticed that your friends are a little bit jealous of you? Now, in hindsight, I would not have known, hey, this is what he means, or this is what is meant by one of the red flags. I would never have known that he was already preparing me. The word is groom me.
Yes.
Okay. Definitely. Preparing me to start disengaging from everyone that I knew. So my loved ones, meaning my family, my friends, my church friends, work. I mean, he would say something like, I think you're working too much, too many hours. I didn't know you were a hustler like me. As a woman, you shouldn't be working that much. Now, I was so blinded to that. I didn't think that, there was something wrong, red flags. I didn't. I thought, well, he's very caring. But hello, if I reduce my hours, how was I going to pay for my bills and things like that? Especially when there was no evidence that he was willing to do anything for me, or in relation to looking after me or supporting me or anything, if I had cut my hours, So those are kind of some of the red flags to pay attention, to take note of, So people, may ask, what are the red flags? So Janice, over to you.
Okay. Just to add to what you biggest things is that when you're in a new relationship, you very seldom say no. You adjust your time as needed because, again, you're trying to impress.
Yes.
So you never really say no. You never really know until you say no. I'm busy. I can't come, those kind of things. Because, again, we're trying to impress. One of the big things that people don't realize is your body will tell you. When something's kind of weird, you get these weird feelings. And it's your intuition, it's your spirit, it's your God self telling you, this is not right. There's something wrong with this. But what do? We overlook it. We overlook it and we say, well, maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh, And I don't want to take up too much time, but I was in a similar situation. And we got into a debate about something that I knew I was right about. And it wasn't the fact that he mentioned it, but he kept mentioning it over and over. It was almost like, penetrating all the time. And I asked him, which is something that we seldom do. I basically told him that I didn't like it. Okay. He continued to do it. Sign number, another sign. They don't respect your boundaries. You tell them, I'm not going to be at home. They come over anyway.
Yes.
Everything you ask them to do, they don't do it, you know.
That
And
is
it's so
so right.
obvious. It really is obvious. But again, it depends on where your mind is at the time that you trying to make a relationship that
Yes.
basically never really was one, but we just didn't see that at the time, you know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Another
Uh-huh.
thing I'd like to say before I hand it back to you is he has a history of abusing other women. And
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, women say they think it's not going to happen to me. She's the one
Mm-hmm.
dogged him out because he's already
Mm-hmm.
told her that he got dogged out in the relationship. He's the
Yes.
victim, you know.
Yes.
But it's something funny that he doesn't hang with his family. He's mad at everybody, you know.
Yes.
He doesn't have any friends. Those are
Yes.
signs. Those are signs.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest sign is the put down, the
Mm-hmm.
underlying put down, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the pet names that are insulting, you know,
Yes.
things like that, you know. So you can probably elaborate a little bit more on that, Pam, if you like.
Yes. So I mean, as we carry on, especially in relation to the what is verbal abuse, there's so much of it. And one of them which stands out to me is, the hidden, remember I was talking to you, the indirect one.
Yes.
Now, if you, I'm telling you, if you're not listening to what it is the abuser is saying to you, if you're not paying attention to what a person is saying to you, you might easily just let it go over your head, because to you it hasn't hit home. So one of the examples for me, which I would say is verbal abuse, and most people might not even think it is, but it really is, and it's quite hurtful. We were planning to go away to another country. I think I mentioned it again last week, but I will say it again. We're planning to go away to another country, and of course, the statement came out. So, what are we going to do about our weight? Now, bearing in mind that I was the only, large person in this relationship, it was not him. I was the large one, the plus size girl. He was slimmer. I mean, that was a subtle, indirect verbal abuse. That was abuse 100%. And it was psychological, verbal, emotional, everything all rolled into one. And at that time, because I was so in love, I didn't really notice it until after the relationship was over. And I thought, well, that was kind of cruel. You would say to someone, what are we going to do about our weight? Obviously, you meant me. Obviously, you meant me. You didn't mean anybody else but me. So, hello. Why didn't you just come out and say, I care about you. I don't want anything to happen to you health-wise. Shall we do it together? To lose weight, I want to support you and things like that. But no, it's what are we going to do about our weight? It wasn't a two-person thing about the weight. It was just me, so that was very offensive and very, very painful to deal with mentally. And almost a whole year for me to get over that kind of statement and to see what was going on. I think, Janice, we're only seeing your hair now. You'll have to move.
Yeah.
Yes, that's better. A bit more,
okay.
bit more.
And just to add to that, the goal is to be in control. Once I get you in a position where you don't feel good about yourself, you become self-conscious because of the remarks that I've made. I'm just wearing you down, slowly but surely. I'm wearing you down. And then once you start believing it, people always say, oh, it doesn't bother me. Yes, it does. It does. Anytime you hear something over and over again, it's going to get in your consciousness. There may be a denial on the person's part that it doesn't bother them. Maybe it makes them able to deal with the situation a lot better when they say it doesn't bother them. But it will affect them eventually. It will.
Absolutely. It does affect people so much, but if they don't realize it, I mean, what can you do? I know that when you speak to someone, they have to be in that mindset where they are ready to do something about it. You know what I mean? They are
Yes, I
ready to
do.
do something about it. They're sick and tired of going through whatever it is that they're going through, especially in relation to verbal abuse. Now, for example, what are other examples of verbal abuse that you might want to share with our viewers?
Um, no responsibility for his behavior or her behavior because it's all your fault. You are always at fault.
Absolutely.
You always did something. You always deserved it. Now, I just want to do a disclaimer. Regular arguments are different than these
Mm-hmm.
type of behaviors, because the behaviors that we're talking about are the ones that hurt, and they're
Mm-hmm.
intended to hurt,
Yes.
or they're
Yes.
intended to make you feel bad about yourself. You know,
Yes.
and what happens when you start isolating yourself, there's nobody there to like give you the strokes that you need to know that you're really okay. It's the other person that's got a problem.
Yes.
Because I know my girlfriend, her abuser eventually killed her, but I remember the first week he moved in,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was like that. But he moved really fast on her because she was very susceptible at that time.
Yes.
And then they'll tell you, my ex was crazy. She was the one. He was the one. It wasn't me. And
Yes.
also take a look at his relationship with his mother. Those are
Yes.
just little bitty subtle signs. In other words, wake up and be in the party.
They
Because
say that.
I've done it. I have no shame in saying it. And I wasn't woke. And I'm not making excuses for it, but be in the relationship. Watch what's going on in the relationship.
Absolutely.
And don't look at
Absolutely.
everything as flattering, because it's not. And again, regular arguments are normal, but this stings. This hurts. You
Yes.
feel it,
Yes. Yes.
So that's kind of what I wanted to
Absolutely.
add to that.
Absolutely. Some of the signs as well, some of the forms of verbal abuse are things like yelling. You just
Mm-hmm.
yell out of nowhere. You don't even realize exactly what's happened.
Mm-hmm.
I was just reading a few days ago, one of the stories that I came across, and this person, they were together, and somebody woke up in the morning, and all of a sudden there was just yelling coming out of nowhere. You don't understand why or what has happened, who did what, and all of a sudden you're being blamed and you're being told it's your fault. So you're yelling at me because it's my fault. What did I do? And then they don't want to be question me. And that was one of the disturbing things as well. I think also use of hostile words,
Yes. Yes.
making the person feel so bad and so guilty about what they've done. So they become very aggressive and angry,
Yes.
and they behave in a very unfriendly manner. So you think, I'm in this relationship with this person. Why would this person behave the way they're behaving now? What has changed? What have I done? What have I said? And when you get to that point where you're asking yourself, what have I done? What have I said? That's a red flag right there, because you're already beginning to blame yourself. You are already beginning to put all the responsibility and onus onto yourself, when yet it was not your fault. You didn't do anything. You're not to blame. So you end up being blamed for something that you don't even know where it started from, where it came from, why, where, who, what, and how. So that in itself is already a red flag. And do you know, Janice, that this thing can even go down the sliding scale, can get worse and worse and
Yes, it
worse
does. It
until
does.
you begin to second guess yourself, you begin to
Hmm.
doubt yourself, you begin to be unsure of yourself. And
Yes.
when you do get your freedom finally, you're not able to make a simple decision. You're not able to make up your mind in any way. I think we're seeing your hair again, Janice.
And I think, yeah. Now, is that better? Yeah. Is that
Yeah,
better? Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I'm right here now. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so carry on. What were you about to say?
Um, Basically, you kind of mentioned it because because it's a conditioning process. It
Mm-hmm.
it it's always happening. It's just
Yes,
happening in different forms, and in
yes,
different forms. That's it. And again, because we are not present when this is going on psychologically, we do begin
yes,
to doubt ourselves. We begin to doubt
yes,
ourselves. Yeah, and
yes,
that's the bad part about the whole thing is when you start doubting yourself, then you can't very well set boundaries. You have no direction, is what I'm getting at.
yes, yes, yes. You end up not having any direction. I remember one time this lady, she was now free of her abuser. I think the abuser was jailed, and
Mhm.
um, then the person who was supporting her just took her for shopping, simple shopping, right? And
Right.
then she could not even decide what box of cereals to buy for her children. She couldn't decide that because all the while she was subjected to this thing of, he would make the decisions because she was stupid. She couldn't make any decisions. Her decisions were worthless. She was being told everything negative about her decision-making process. And so she
Mhm.
couldn't decide what boxes of cereal. She even came out with a statement, oh, I wish he was here to decide because I'm rubbish at making a decision.
Mhm.
Rubbish. You're not rubbish at making any decision. You're perfectly fine and you're perfectly able to do it. So it does affect us mentally, the words that are spoken to us all the time. So I
Mhm.
seriously think that it's very, very important for people to be aware right at the beginning of the relationship. What
Yeah.
sort of person is this that I am
Mhm.
engaging with?
Mhm.
It's so important. And people don't really understand when a woman or when a victim is going through it, you kind of get questions like, why don't you leave? It's really
Yeah.
difficult to leave at that
Mhm.
point, but this is for another topic at another
Mhm.
time. The issue of why don't we leave? Why doesn't a
Mhm.
victim
Yeah,
leave?
that's
It's
something
for another
entirely
topic.
different, huh? Yeah, yeah. But we
It is
want you to
entirely,
have a clear understanding of verbal
yes,
abuse. It's
yes,
subtle, it's subtleties,
yes,
and
yes,
in the dating process. Because what happens a lot of times is you let people in your life too quickly. They haven't
yes,
proven themselves. You see the good
yes,
side of them. That's all you see because you never told them no. You never broke a
yes,
date with them. You never
yes,
got them mad. And
yes.
I'm not saying to deliberately make them mad, nothing like that, because you have to be, thinking. You have to use your mind and strategize is what I'm trying to get at. Especially in a
Absolutely.
dating relationship. Sometimes you're not available. So how does
Yes.
he respond or she respond when you say, I'm going on a trip with my family? See what the
Oh,
response will be. Will
yes,
he,
yes.
will he tell you can't go because he can't go or she can't go? You know, what kind of breakdown will that person have when you tell them no?
Yes, yes. I know one of the breakdowns might be sulking all day or sulking
Yes.
for a few days. That why are
Uh-huh.
you going, with your family? Or there might be just a tension in the house, an
Yeah.
atmosphere that's so eerie and full of tension, and if make you feel like you're walking on eggshells. That any
Yes.
little thing that you
Definitely.
might say might cause an explosion in the home. You know, the children are tense, you are tense, all because you said you're going away to see your family. Or maybe sometimes statements like, why do you want to go, you know, with your family? You know, your dad doesn't care. Or, you know, mentioning one family member that might be there, you know, they might say, oh, so-and-so doesn't care. So what's the point in you going? Why do you want to put yourself in that, you know, kind of predicament? Or so why are you going alone? You know, I thought we were going together. Kind of thing, you know, to make you feel guilty and bad to the point that you even cancel going to your family reunion or family gathering or family whatever enjoyment that you intend to do. You know, I remember something that's really personal. When we were children, I remember we were in the car. My grandparents were driving, and my parents and I and my brother, we were sat in the back of the car, and all of a sudden stopped the car, and my dad jumped out of the car, and my mother followed, and of course we were little, we followed. And I remember the conversation my dad was having with my mother, and he was saying he couldn't stand it anymore. He couldn't stand being in that car anymore. He couldn't stand being with my mother's parents anymore. And you know, abuse like that began from a very, very early age. You know, their marriage was still young, but they were just in turmoil. My mother was in turmoil, and that was the beginning of those red flags. But I think she was a woman who was trying to brave it out, I guess. I don't know. I never really got a chance to speak to her or ask her, you know, one of those very important questions as to what kind of red flags did she see, and, you know, why did she carry on being in that relationship. But those, to me, would have been one of the red flags, you know, when somebody says stop the car and jump out and then say I can't stand to be there, because already he's trying to isolate you from your family, you know, so that he can carry on dominating you and you know, having power and control, which was eventually the result of my parents, you know. So it was quite an ordeal. I mean, I don't know, have you come across such things for yourself, Janice?
Mine in adulthood I did, but one of the things that I realized is that when you come up in that type of relationship, environment such as I did, you have, your views are skewed, you know, because you haven't really developed properly. Because when you're in that kind of situation, domestic violence takes precedent of the whole house. Nothing else can get accomplished, because everybody's trying to make sure that they stay out of the way so it won't be any problems.
Absolutely.
They're trying to keep the level down so he won't get mad or she get mad and go off, and you know. And then of course he's justified and going off or getting mad because you're the one that caused it. So I am very familiar with it from a child's perspective and an adult perspective, because what happens is familiarity. You kind of familiar with it in a way.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
And another point I'd like to make: people who are abusive choose you. They pick you.
Do totally.
They pick you because you know what they're looking for. They know what they're looking for. They're not looking for a woman that's going to give them a hard time. They want to find a woman that's a yes woman. That's going to say yes, you know, because you know that you have friends that they don't barely like because they're so strong. I mean, they're so, they don't like them. They don't want you hanging around with them because they scared it might rub off on you, you know.
Yes.
Is any of this familiar to anybody out there? If so, please leave us some comments or anything, because we're here to help you get a good idea of what verbal abuse is, and we want you to leave here with some nuggets to take with you. And you don't have to jump out there and do anything about it right now, because it takes time. You got to work on yourself first. And
Yes.
then you
Yes.
start eventually getting the power, feeling the confidence that you need in order to make a decision. Because it's much better when you strategize, because you don't have to renege in a way. Because each,
Mm-hmm.
just take your time, don't rush it, don't jump out there, just start making small um, incremental changes, and sometimes use the broken record effect. And what that is, that means when you say something, keep saying it again. Don't get distracted by him telling you stupid or you jealous. No, this is what I'm talking about. Just stay with the point. I don't like it. It doesn't feel
Yes.
good. That's it.
Yes.
Don't get caught
Yes.
up in the rhetoric of it and your feelings getting hurt, because it's a strategy. And when you fall
Absolutely.
into that strategy, you're going to get distracted from what you're supposed to be doing. So that's just a little
Absolutely.
sidebar there, because that strategy is utilized a lot.
Yes.
Again,
Yes.
to make you feel bad. That's the
Mm-hmm.
main
Mm-hmm.
goal, and to weaken your resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That is true. So again, we just want to say that we're here talking about what are the verbal signs of abuse, and
Mhm.
also what are the red flags. And today is our 20-minute Wednesday.
Yes,
So I think we're almost wrapping up now.
yes, we are.
But we just want to say, if you have any comments that you might want to have or to say in relation to verbal abuse, if you know someone that's experiencing that kind of thing, verbal abuse, the yelling, the shouting, the being told that you're worthless, you're nothing, those kind of things. If you have anything like that, if you know of anyone who's going through those kind of things, we'll be more than happy to help and to signpost. I don't know, Janice, you were saying you had some reading material or listening material. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Well, I just had one book that I was recommended right now, but I do have some other ones. I'll probably put them in the chat or later, or send them to your foundation. The
Mm-hmm.
Gifts of Imperfection. And
Yes.
that's a really, really good book. And
Yes.
it's by Brene Brown. And
Yes.
because we're all imperfect beings, there's no way around that, because none of us are perfect. And
Yes.
but we do want to live the most wonderful life we can, because life is
Mm-hmm.
short. It's very short.
Absolutely.
And if you spend your life trying to please somebody else, then you're not going to be pleased, and you're not going to
Yes.
enjoy your life. And guess what? Your kids are going to get it too. Because most people
Absolutely.
say that kids don't hear. Kids hear everything you do. You know, you might think that they don't, but they do. And it impacts
Absolutely.
their life. So um, that's kind of all I have to say about that. But we do plan to do these on a regular basis. You know,
Mm-hmm.
probably
Mm-hmm.
every
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday. We
Yes.
haven't confirmed everything yet, but we welcome your comments and your
Yes.
suggestions, and we
Yes.
hope that you got something out of this presentation today, because that was the purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, we don't want to flood your mind with too much
Mm.
information. So today is just talking about what is verbal abuse. So it's just basically identifying what it
Yeah.
is, and what are the red flags. I think next week we'll talk about how do you get
Yeah.
out of that situation now,
Okay.
regardless of whether you're at the beginning of it or you're in the middle of it, or some way along the way of this relationship, whatever it is that you are in. So we just want to remind you, next week we'll be live again at the same time, 8:30 UK time and 12:30 California, USA time. Yes. Is that Eastern Standard Time?
Pacific Standard Time for California.
Pacific Standard
Yeah.
Time, California. Yes. So
Mhm.
we just want to encourage you next time. Stay tuned for some more discussions. We'll be talking about now how to work it out, how you can get out of that kind of environment or predicament that you're now in. sometimes it's easy to quickly get out of it, especially if you're right at the beginning of the relationship.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it can be, it then becomes a bit more difficult if you are in it for a bit. You know, when I say a bit, I mean for a while. If you're in it for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah.
But hey,
Yeah.
this is Pamela Dunduru, the founder and CEO of the Magdalena Foundation. And Janice, you are?
Janice Cummings, the founder and CEO of You Win Working with Me. Thank
Yes, and
you.
we just
It's been
want
a
to say we
pleasure,
love
Pam.
you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We love you, and we will see you
Love
soon
you.
next week. Keep tuned, put it
All
in your
right.
diary, and share with others, encourage others to join. I just want to say to the audience here in the UK, if you are in trouble and if you need help, if you're in danger, don't waste time. You dial that emergency number 999 999. Yes. And if you're not in danger and you need some advice, we have got the Women's Aid or Refuge, and it is 0808 2000 24/7 0808 2000 24/7. I don't know, Janice, if you have the hotline
Yeah.
number in the US.
I have the National Resource for Domestic Violence. It's a hotline number. It's 1-800-799-7233. And
Yes.
they will give you the resources and the shelters that you can go to. But when you, again, this is another conversation, but you still need to have things in place even when you get ready to go. You know, it makes
Absolutely.
it a
That will
lot
be,
easier. That's
yes, that
another
will be one of
conversation.
the
Yeah.
conversations that we will talk, not next week,
Okay.
but, the following week. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's to help you in preparation of, especially when you're deep into the relationship,
Right.
how you are going to come out of that relationship. But hey, so we love you. We will see you next
Love
week. If you
you.
have any questions, you can inbox us and we'll try
Yes.
to respond as accurately as possible. If we don't know, we'll tell you we don't know, and we'll do a little bit more research and come back with the answer for you. So until next week, it's from the UK. Bye-bye. And from the US,
U.S.
see you.
Okay. Yep. Have a blessed
Goodbye.
day. Bye-bye.
And you too. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.